Howdy my totally tubular gamers, we are back with another ranking video, and today's ranking video is a series of games that I don't think gets talked about very much anymore, and that is the Saints Row series. Now the Saints Row series was really popular during the 360 PS3 era of gaming, and then it just kind of died out. Like I don't think there's a new Saints Row game on the PS4 or Xbox One, and it's certainly not anything further than that. But regardless, we have the Saints Row series. Now, Saints Row has always been called the GTA clone, the GTA ripoff, the GTA crapshoot, Korean knockoff, I don't know. It's been called a lot of GTA this and that, but I really think that the Saints Row series, while it might have initially started as a GTA clone, it definitely evolved into its own genre of just crazy, and while it of course still is an open world game, I think it's got its own identity for sure. And that's why I'd like to rank the Saints Row games and just give them a little bit of that love that they deserve that really I don't see anybody talking about these days. So, let's get started with the worst Saints Row game. At number 5 we have the original Saints Row. Now the original Saints Row is just not the best, I'm gonna be honest. It came out very early in the 360's lifetime, and well, the term GTA clone and GTA ripoff/knockoff really got thrown around a lot here with Saints Row, and I'll be honest, I agree with them about the first game. The original Saints Row really hasn't held up all that well, and it's pretty obvious that it is just a GTA San Andreas knockoff. It really didn't do anything original, to be honest. I mean, like, I guess it did gang warfare a little differently than San Andreas, and was a little goofier, I guess, but it just really did not have its own identity, and I think that all these years later it makes it much harder to come back to. It is clunky, it is kind of dated, and the story really, it's just not all that great. The open world really isn't special and just feels very benign. The missions themselves feel very uninspired. In fact, the whole game just feels uninspired, and Saints Row has even gone back and made fun of how the original game isn't all that great, but I really honestly can't recommend the original Saints Row to anybody, and I think that it's best left forgotten, honestly. This game really is best left forgotten because I'm just not a really big fan of it, and if you are, you can tell me in the comments why I'm wrong and leave the video. But yeah, the original Saints Row. At number 4 we have Saints Row Gat Out of Hell. Now this is the latest release of the Saints Row series, and this is just kind of a spin-off sequel, I guess, to Saints Row 4, and this was a really weird game, honestly. Like, even looking back, I'm just like, that was so weird how there was, like, this Saints Row spin-off where you get to play as Johnny Gat, the, like, second main character behind your customizable character, and it was a 2-player, co-op, open-world, adventure kind of styled game where you get to be in hell and fly around and do missions and try to save the main character from Saints Row 4. And this game, while it didn't do anything bad, it felt honestly quite uninspired, even compared to Saints Row 4, and I guess flying around was cool and all that, but this game I remember was very short, like 3 or 4 hours, maybe like 5 or 6 if you want to do everything short, like, and sure, it was decent enough in co-op and some of the weapons were cool, but the game just did not have all that much going for it. This still is the last Saints Row game released also, which is kind of sad, and I think that the next Saints Row that comes out, which they have confirmed is there's another Saints Row coming, will be much better than this, much more grand, bigger, crazier, because this game really just didn't do all that much for me, and it just really felt like a DLC to Saints Row 4, only just nowhere near as good as Saints Row 4. And sure, it wasn't priced like a full price game, but I just really wasn't huge on this one either. Now at number 3 we have Saints Row 2. Now before you get your pitchforks out, let me explain. I think when it comes to being a gangster game, Saints Row 2 is the best of the series. Saints Row 1 really tried to do it, but I don't know. I don't think Saints Row 1's very good at that. And Saints Row 3 and 4 are definitely not gangster games. And Saints Row 2 is certainly the best gangster game. I can give it that. But as an actual game that you play through, no, Saints Row 2 is not the best in my opinion. I think Saints Row 2 was dated when it came out, to be honest, and now it just feels really dated, and it feels about as dated as like GTA San Andreas. The driving kinda sucks. The shooting definitely isn't the best, and it's very clunky and kinda hard to come back to. The story is actually alright. The story definitely was a lot more interesting than anything the first game had, and I think all the rival gangs were it was fun to go up against them, and creating your own character has always been one of the best parts of Saints Row, and that really got started in the second one rather than the first one, and I quite liked having a really ugly-ass, goofy character. The radio stations I remember were like god tier in this game. They're still really well done. The cheat codes were pretty funny in Saints Row 2 also. That was definitely a fun time. The part that I think that ages the worst of Saints Row 2 is the graphics. Like, the graphics in this game's just ugly as shit. Like, it's ugly as sin, really. Even when it came out, it was really dated and ugly, and nowadays it's just like, oh my god. Like, this game did not age well at all. But I mean, it's still fun regardless of the very poor graphics, and while I do think that some of the missions are not very fun, particularly the main missions I don't think are very fun, there are some really fun side missions, like the one where you're shooting shit all over the house. That's a fun one. But yeah, the main missions I remember not being the best. I remember there was no checkpoints in these missions, and if you died like near the end of one, it was really annoying to play through the whole thing again. I remember the melee combat is just atrocious in this game and should never be spoken of. And then, like, one of the bigger things, I remember I was playing this game on PC, and this is like one of the worst PC ports ever for anything. Like, it's dog shit. It doesn't get any worse than this, really. One of the worst PC ports to any game ever. Not even close. But despite all this, Saints Row 2, I still had some fun with. I do have some fond memories of when it wasn't crashing or glitching out. Or maybe when it was glitching out, I got some fond memories of that. But I still had some fun with it, and I understand that it is a cult favorite, but it's not the best in my opinion. It's still good. It's still a fun game, but it's not the best. And at number 2, we have Saints Row 4. Now, Saints Row 4 just goes absolutely insane with what Saints Row 3 had. And while Saints Row 3 definitely cranked it up to 100, this game cranks it up even further as it just goes balls to the wall crazy. Like, forget the 3rd Street Saints and all that gang warfare, whatever, anything the other games are trying to do now, it's gone. You're the president of the United States, and you fight off an alien invasion and then get basically put in this Matrix-like world that is, well, it's just a recreation of the Saints Row 3 map, but it's a Matrix-like world where you're just given superpowers at this point. Like, you're just literally a superhero, and it's the better superhero game than any Superman game, I can say that. You can run hella fast, you have these crazy abilities, you can do some crazy combos and melee attacks, and then you could just straight up fly and jump like that Incredible Hulk game. Like, and this is so much fun, just going around, flying to all of your locations, beating the shit out of everyone, and forget cars, forget weapons, forget vehicles in general. You just don't need any of them. You're a superhero. You can just run at the speed of sound to go to a place or fly there and then just beat the crap out of the enemies. What weapons are here are also pretty good, like the dubstep gun, and can be pretty crazy, and I can't really comment on the vehicles since I never used them, but I can say that while all this god stuff is really fun and really crazy, it kind of is like the thing that keeps it from being the best Saints Row, in my opinion. It makes the game stupidly easy. Like, even on like the hardest difficulty, this game will never challenge you. It will never even come close to challenging you, and it's just stupidly easy. The map is recycled, which I mean, that's not great, but some of the gags and jokes that are in the game that even make fun of Saints Row Past are pretty good, and the game still has a killer soundtrack. Like, it has literally What Is Love in it. Come on now. All the side missions are great. Most of them are returning from 3, but they're all great. The main missions, most of them are pretty fun. The story is pretty wacky. The ending is definitely crazy. And I still have a lot of fond memories with Saints Row 4. It's hard to believe that this is the last mainline Saints Row game, as it came out on PS3 and 360. Luckily, it has been re-released a number of times, so that is good. That is good. And I just really had a lot of crazy-ass fun, and definitely have some good times in the co-op, because seeing your friend do this crazy-ass stuff, then you also doing crazy-ass stuff, like these crazy wrestling moves or whatever it's going to be, good stuff, good stuff. But it's not the best Saints Row in my opinion, and it's maybe a little too crazy for its own good. My favorite Saints Row game, though. And at number 1, we have Saints Row the Third. Now, Saints Row the Third is definitely my favorite Saints Row game, and I remember getting it when it came out 10 years ago? Are you serious? Okay, well, it might be 10 years old now, but it doesn't feel like it's aged anywhere near as much as Saints Row 2, because I still think Saints Row 3 is a fantastic open world game that has not only just pure carnage and chaos, but is incredibly fun. And it does have a little bit of the gang stuff from Saints Row 2. You can still call the homies, you still got some really awesome weapons. There is a little bit of gang warfare, but it really just goes off the wall crazy and just cranks it up to 11 with giant dildo bats and a crazy storyline that may or may not see Johnny Gat die really early on it. But besides that, it's still really fun and a really great game. The game is most of the time just hilarious, and a lot of the jokes really aren't that dated, at least. And they weren't dated back when I played the game 10 freaking years ago. Oh my god. The music in it was cool. The driving was a lot more smoother than Saints Row 2, and you actually do driving in this game, unlike Saints Row 4. I remember the weapons were really fun to use. That the pistols rocked in this game. And the side activities, the side activities are the best in the series, in my opinion. Stuff like insurance fraud or mayhem, like where you just blow shit up or get hit by cars. Like, I remember having so much fun with the side content. And then the main story missions were really well done also. Like, they weren't generic feeling. And I remember just having a blast flying around that VTOL, blowing stuff up. Like, there really isn't much to dislike with Saints Row 3. Sure, the graphics haven't aged all that well, but they weren't really all that great to begin with. But I still just had so much fun just going nuts in Saints Row the 3rd, and will always cherish the time I had with it. And sure, it's been remastered, I remember last year or so, but nothing's gonna beat that original time I had with Saints Row the 3rd, where you just got to just destroy everything and just cause as much chaos as possible. And it truly is one of the better open world games, and this really just leads me to believe how Saints Row really has just become one of the more underrated, underappreciated series in gaming over the last decade or so. And I really hope that Saints Row can make a solid comeback on the PS5 and Xbox Series X and really just regain some of its foothold, because it's just been way too long since a Saints Row game. We had that shitty Agents of Mayhem, but I didn't even include that on this list. I couldn't care about that. And yeah, that's my list for Saints Row. I like all these games, minus maybe the original, but tell me your list, guys, in the comments and gals, and just let me know what your favorite games are, because I let you know what mine are. So have a good Christmas, Valentine's Day, New Year's, Easter Bunny Day, Hanukkah, I don't know, whatever you celebrate. You have a good one, guys. Thanks.